Adobe just made the biggest update to Premiere Pro ever, and it fundamentally changes and improves everything when it comes to color grading. DaVinci Resolve better watch out. Today, we're going to be talking about this update, and I'm going to explain to you why it's such a big deal and how it has the potential to be your favorite new way to color grade video in any software. But first, I want you to know this video is not paid or sponsored by Adobe, but I have been in the beta of this update for over a year now. Anyways, you can download this update right now and try it out for yourself in the latest Premiere Pro beta. I will link to where you can download it down in the video description. Now, whenever you first open the new version of Premiere, it's going to look really familiar to you initially with all of your editing tools, just like you would expect on the editing workspace. But I want you to notice up here on the top left, you have your import and your export modes that Adobe added in 2022. But next to the edit mode, which we've always had, is a new color mode. And if you are someone who's been wanting more from color from Adobe, this is going to blow your mind because it's a radical rethinking of how you can color grade a video in a very good way. So let's open color mode. And as you can see from the very start, this looks very different than what you may be used to seeing in Premiere. The monitor window is giant, which makes sense because you'll want to be able to look at all the details of your video while color grading. Then on the right, you have all of your video clips from your sequence, and you can still go down here to the middle and scrub through your entire timeline if you want to with the playhead. But it really feels more intuitive to go over here to the right side and click on whichever video clip you want to color grade. Even cooler too, you can switch from a single clip view to a grid view and then resize it where you can then see all of your video clips on your timeline at the same time. So if you have a much larger project with different scenes, let's say you're editing a wedding video and you have establishing shots of the wedding out in the desert, but oh wait, what's this? Oh, we also have shots of the couple together. Well, now you can see all these different groups of clips at once, which can really help with making sure that all the colors look consistent across all of your clips. The other thing that I want you to remember too is that all of these are just panels. So unlike DaVinci Resolve, where you're kind of locked into a horizontal line of clips that you can click through, with Premiere, all of these clips are, yes, over here on the right, but they don't have to be. This is a panel, so you can just click and drag. You want to move it over here, you want to move it down to the bottom. You have a lot of flexibility and customization here, and I really love that about Premiere Pro. Cool, Matt, but how the heck do I actually color grade things now? Well, check out the tools down here at the bottom. I told you this update was a radical rethinking of color grading, and I think that Adobe was really smart about this because the tools that they give you are really simple to play around with and learn, but there's also a ton of depth here to really help you dial in the exact look that you want very quickly. All the controls kind of look like abstract color wheels, but whenever you click on them, you actually get a lot more control. Click and hold on contrast here, and boom, check this out. A very detailed scope pops up. Remember how I said things are really simple, but there's a lot of depth? Yes, Premiere's never really had scopes pop up like this. They've always lived inside a separate panel, but Premiere calls these pop-up scopes a HUD or heads-up display, and they give you a ton of data if you want it. And don't worry, by the way, if you want to resize this, you can actually go over to settings, go down to your heads-up display options. Let's just scale it down a little bit, or bigger. You have a lot of control here with how everything looks. Go ahead and press OK. And now that we have clicked on contrast and brought up these controls, check this out. If I drag upwards, it's going to increase the video contrast. If I drag downwards with my mouse, it's going to decrease. Pretty simple, right? It's basically the same as a lumetri slider, but you're just moving your mouse up and down. What if you move it left or right though? Well, that is another control. And with it, it's going to shift the pivot of the contrast, which is going to help you dial in your highlights and shadows even further. Now, let's check out the exposure. Click and drag. It's going to open up the exposure heads-up display, and just like that, drag up to make it brighter, drag it down to make it darker, and then you can also drag it left or right to adjust the black level, which you can see in the scope controls on the left, which is really useful. Do you see the recurring theme of these new tools? It's no longer a simple slide left to right. You can go up and down too. You also have other tools like your temperature, balance, and saturation, which if you click on one, that's going to bring up a new color scope. And then you can start dragging up and to the right. Let's make things a little bit warmer. There we go. quick little click and drag, so quick and easy to do. Now by default, you're adjusting the colors and exposure for this entire clip at once, but you can also choose to just color the shadows or the highlights or make a custom zone. You can then go over and shift any of the other colors in your video by going over to hue versus saturation, clicking and dragging around, and that's gonna open up this other cool scope that really lets you dial in, hey, I want my skin tones are a little intense right here, so let's back them off here a little bit, tighten them up a bit. Really, really cool and simple. Want your footage to look sharper? You can do that with the detail tools over here. You can boost the sharpness or texture by clicking and dragging up or down. It's all pretty intuitive, right? If you've used color wheels, you're gonna grasp how these tools work pretty quickly. But I hear you telling me, Matt, this is cool, but what if I miss my sliders like I had in the earlier versions of Premiere Pro? What if I want to use those? Good news, they absolutely still exist just like before. All you have to do is go back over to edit mode, make sure you're in the properties panel, scroll down, and here are all of your color sliders, just like you remember them. Very familiar. But come on now, these sliders are old news and all. We really need to talk about the latest and greatest. Let's go back over here to color mode again, because what you've seen me basically do is color correct a clip, but we've barely scratched the surface. It's about to get really wild, okay? Let's go. At this point in color mode, all we've been doing is making color corrections to one clip. But what if you want to do more advanced color grading? That is where styles come in. Currently, we've just been adjusting this clip, but if you click the plus button down here next to adjust, and then you can click on add clip style, that is gonna bring up a brand new menu with a ton of different style presets. And you can think of these kind of like super advanced Instagram filters that give you a ton of control and a great starting points. You've got cinematic presets, cool and warm lighting, black and white, boosted saturation, just a ton of cool options. And you may be thinking these are just LUTs or something like that, right? Sure, Matt, I've seen this all before. I go over here, I click on the preset and it applies it to the video clip. Video editing software has offered stuff like this for decades at this point. It's not very impressive. Well, hold up, because all of these presets are actually made up of individual building blocks called style modules. And if you click on this style modules tab at the top, you're going to be able to see all of them. You've got color and contrast, color shift, contrast kit, detail, film color, flare. Let's click on color and contrast. And look at that. We've added these adjustment tools that we were using to this clip. Let's then go over here and add another one. So we're going to hit the plus and choose contrast kit. Click on that. And that's going to add even more contrast controls. Now let's get more advanced. We're going to go back over here to our style modules and we're going to add the film color module, and check out what happens whenever I click on this. Boom. Immediately things get even more stylized. So what's so cool is that Adobe has added film presets to Premiere Pro, and there are a lot of very cool negatives as well as print options. And then you can go in and heavily modify the strength of these by clicking and dragging up or down. And then you can edit the highlights and the shadows, really dialing in the exact look that you want. And then do you want to add some flare? Yeah, let's add some flare as well. We're going to go here to the plus, select flare, choose that, and then we have more control to give everything a slight cinematic fade. This is starting to look really film-like and textured. It's so great. And then if you like how things look, you can always go over here and click this little down arrow to save this as a style preset of your own to then be able to apply it to any future videos that you're color grading as well to save you a lot of time. Or remember, if we go back over to this plus button and choose to add a clip style, there are all of these presets. So we can select cinematic, medium, contrast, and notice that whenever you do that, it's just a collection of these modules. The contrast kit plus some color shift, color contrast, and flare all together. And so this is really so much more than just adding a LUT to your footage. You have so much more control over every single setting. And most importantly, it's non-destructive. You're not making blanket adjustments to a clip like you would with a LUT. Everything can be tweaked and adjusted. And also, for those of you that are wondering here, you're like, Matt, are LUTs still available? Can we still use LUTs with this? Yes, of course. If you click on the plus button next to clip adjustment, you can add a clip LUT, choose any of your LUTs that you've installed to Premiere Pro right here, change the color space, change the intensity. It's super easy and quick to do. And I actually already have a LUT that I've already applied to this footage that we're going to talk about in just a minute. But first, I know that we've been gradually getting more and more advanced as we talk through this update, but to take things even further, I want you to think back to all of the updates that Adobe has been adding to Premiere over the last few years. One of the most impressive is the object mask feature that lets you select any object in your frame and track it. Well, I'm so happy to tell you that that works with color mode too, and it makes color grading specific objects in your video dramatically easier. Here we have this clip of this skateboarder doing a very cool trick that I am definitely not capable of doing. And let's say that we want to track him. So all that we're going to do is select Add Clip Adjustment. Then we're going to go over here to the right to our Object Mask tool. Give that just a second to load as it is going to figure out everything that is in this clip. Then we mouse over, select the object that we want to track. In this case, it is this skateboarder. And then what's great is that you can go on ahead and make specific changes to just this object using all of these color tools. So actually we're like, you know what? I think he needs to be slightly higher contrast. I want to pop out a little bit. I want to be slightly brighter. He's wearing all black. So let's make him pop just a bit. And then we're going to right click, choose Track Mask, and Premiere is immediately going to track this entire skateboarder throughout the scene with all the color adjustments that we've applied in a few seconds. It's so cool. And just like that, our skateboarder is tracked through the entire scene. Do you see how it's super easy to do advanced stuff like this with these tools? Cool, Matt, but do I really need to use these tools to color grade every single individual clip? I have to go through and be like, all right, now let's tweak this one and the next one. That sounds really time consuming, right? Well, here's where things get really wild because we've been doing all of these color corrections on a clip level. But I want you to notice over here to the right of the clip, it says Sequence and Sequence Style. Select that, and then we're going to head over here to our style presets. And while I'm going through here and clicking on these, I want you to pay attention to all of our video clips over here on the right, because whenever I click on one of them, all of the clips are going to immediately start to update themselves as we go through them. Yes, isn't this cool? All of these clips are being color graded at once. So if you filmed everything in the same location with the same camera, instead of you needing to go back over to the edit page and then make an adjustment layer and drag it down to your timeline and drag it over all the clips and go through and color grade it with your sliders, no, you can go over here, just select Sequence, apply a preset or a color grade, and that will immediately be applied to all of the clips on your timeline in just a few clicks. Isn't that crazy? Of course, you're probably thinking, and rightfully so, that it's rare that all of your clips were filmed at the exact same time with the exact same lighting, right? You oftentimes have clips from different points of day or different locations. So instead of you just being able to color grade your clips at a clip or a sequence level, here's where you're going to save a ton of time with color mode. So you're going to go over here to your clips panel on the right and select all of the clips that you want to color grade. In this case, let's do all these desert shots, right? Going to click on one, hold down Shift, click again. We're going to select all of them. And then I want you to notice down here in the bottom left, a new menu option has appeared between a clip and sequence called Selection. Click on the plus button. We're going to add a style to these selected clips. I really like that warm style. Click on that and boom, just like that, we have applied this preset to all of these desert clips. They all have this equally warm look to them. Isn't that wild? This is so easy to use, but this tool is so full of depth. It's very impressive. In the last few years for Premiere Pro updates, I want you to think about how much they've actually been building up to this moment where color mode releases. In 2022, Adobe added the import and export modes to Premiere, and a lot of video editors complained about it because it added extra steps to the importing and exporting process. But I have to say, now that Adobe has added color mode, having all of these separate modes up here has started to make a lot more sense. And I have to say too, color mode feels really good to use. And I've not always used words like that to describe editing in Premiere Pro, which makes this really exciting. It feels intuitive to pick up while also giving a lot of depth to the controls. No joke, one of my bigger fears whenever I heard that Adobe was trying to tackle a new way of color grading video, I was worried that this could be a Final Cut 10 moment for them, where video editors revolted because the tools were too dumbed down and lacked professional features. But after using and spending a lot of time in color mode, that's not how it feels at all. It feels like Adobe managed to ride this very fine line of rethinking how the program works while also making it intuitive enough for video editors that are new to color grading, while also adding a ton of advanced features and capabilities that pros would expect and appreciate. And can I just add, there are no signs of a complex node-based workflow here. Adobe could have looked at what Resolve was doing with color grading and say, hey, we're just gonna add nodes, here you go. But they didn't, because truth truth be told, a lot of video editors are intimidated by nodes and they don't want to have to learn how to use them. And now, if you edit videos in Premiere Pro and you want more advanced color grading controls than what you've gotten in the past with this program, you don't have to leave it for DaVinci Resolve anymore. You have color mode in Premiere Pro, and I think that it's really impressive. Keep in mind too, this is just the start. I can see Adobe going over here and saying, you know what? Yeah, we've got some of these styles here. Hey, guess what? New update, we've added new styles. New update, we've added new modules. There's gonna be new updates to color mode as time progresses, I hope, which is really exciting. There's another word that I haven't used when describing Premiere Pro in a long time. Exciting. You can let me know what you think of color mode down in the description below. Please also subscribe if you want to see more videos about color mode. I'm planning on making a lot more tutorials about it in the future. And if you want to learn more about video editing, I will link down below to my edit videos like a pro guide. This guide is going to show you the biggest rules that I follow as a video editor, and it will apply to you regardless of whether you use Premiere Pro, Final Cut, DaVinci Resolve, it doesn't matter. You can download this guide completely for free at the link in the video description. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.